we should do the very simple, straightforward, and common sense thing that the president's asking us to do. Let's lock in last year's spending, which reduces spending. Let's root out some waste at Department of Commerce with a slush fund and some of the IRS expansion that happened in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. Redirect some of that for border security and defense, and clear the path for the much bigger, much more consequential budget reconciliation bill, which has the lion's share of the America First agenda.
This bill cuts health care for veterans, $23 billion ripped away from veterans exposed to burn pits and Agent Orange. This bill defunds the police. I guess my Republican friends only care about the police when they need their votes, because this CR takes money away from the police. You know what's another word for taking money away? Defunding. This CR helps fire thousands of Social Security workers, forcing seniors to wait longer for their benefits that they have earned. That is what House Republicans are trying to jam through on the floor right now.
What do I hear now? Silence. Now that Republicans are in control of Congress, they decide to bend the knee to Donald Trump. Republicans are giving Donald Trump and Elon Musk the power to decide who gets money and who doesn't. Based on these last 8 weeks, we know who Trump prioritizes: his billionaire friends and big corporations. He does not care for veterans, workers with disabilities, children, senior citizens, farmers, or families just trying to make ends meet.
And now that Donald Trump is president, they are making their move. He and the rest of Project 2025 and the Project 2025 crowd have installed Linda McMahon as what they hope will be the final secretary of the department. Every student will feel the impact of a decision to dismantle the department.
We have to make sure that we are fighting fire with fire, that we're being more aggressive than they are, that we're using, pop culture entertainment to reach other voters, that we're doubling down on working class issues, that we're not just leaning into all of our degrees and what we learned at the university and our graduate degrees, that we're actually talking to, bringing in and listening to working class people.
Our nation's sacred promise is just as the military says. On the battlefield, we leave no soldier behind. And when they come home, we leave no veteran behind. With this bill, Republicans have broken that promise.
I don't trust the government, the federal government, with any of my data, let alone financial data. I once got a letter from the federal government telling me, we're sorry, but all your data from your security clearance has been released to a foreign actor. Here, we'll give you a couple of years of credit monitoring. You're welcome.
With ever-worsening wildfires and other severe national disasters threatening communities across this country, the education and training provided by the NFA has never been more important to strengthen our national preparedness. And while I agree that the government should run more efficiently, jeopardizing our firefighters' personal safety and the safety and well-being of our communities is never the answer.
The Pandemic Unemployment Fraud Enforcement Act is a common sense bill that doubles the statute of limitations so we can recover hundreds of billions of stolen taxpayer dollars. Prosecuting bad actors has a ripple effect that will deter crime and prevent additional losses to the government and American taxpayers. The DOJ has more than 1,600 open cases, uncharged COVID-19 criminal matters. And the Department of Labor Inspector General has yet to investigate 157,000 UI fraud hotline complaints. This bill is simple. Once the statute of limitation expires, these cases will go cold and criminals will go unpunished. Let me be clear. A vote against this bill is a vote to surrender to fraudsters and criminals.
So what is the way forward? I have an economic patriotism agenda, but let me just put 3 ideas forward. First, we need to get people to believe in the rule of law again. We need to build American institutions again. We cannot have businesses guessing that policy is going to be made on a whim in chaos. 2, We have got to understand so many people are fearful of not having good paying jobs. 60% are living paycheck to paycheck. We need a manufacturing renaissance. We've got to invest with business leaders in making modern steel, shipbuilding, drug manufacturing, new aluminum factories across America in deindustrialized towns. We've got to get our tech companies to create new jobs for young people in these communities, especially with AI. We need to make sure that we have a national economic development strategy, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in farming, whether it is in fishing, whatever the local economy is. How do we rebuild those communities, and particularly deindustrialized communities? Third, we need to lower costs for folks.
It's up because they are not managing inflation, but it's up because they're artificially increasing the price of everything with tariffs. And especially in the state of Hawaii, we get a lot of stuff from other countries, and we're going to get hit with Trump tariffs. So far, laying off a bunch of federal employees, reducing services, threatening to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, crashing the stock market, and raising the price of everything is not a smart economic plan.
You saw yesterday markets take an amazing hit because all the promises of tax cuts aren't enough to overcome this completely chaotic approach to our allies, to the notion of taxes through the form of tariffs. Remember, Trump got elected to try to keep an economy going and lower prices. Well, with the stock market sell-off and inflation going up, tariffs about to add additional taxes, and a potential government shutdown.
The budget resolution he asked Republicans to support a week ago will cut Medicaid by $881 billion. $881 billion. That is going to be used to pay for their tax cuts. Medicaid covers, as I mentioned earlier, 90,000 people, 13% of my constituents here in the 11th, and 41,000 children. It covers 70 million Americans across the country. And you got to remember, Medicaid increasingly is the item that's used, the tool that's used by seniors to get nursing home care, to live in assisted living, memory care, Alzheimer's treatment. All of that is covered by Medicaid, and that affects middle-class families all over America. 1 in 4 children is covered by Medicaid, and it pays for 2 in 5 births.
And Medicaid, which is health insurance for nearly 73 million Americans, is going to get severely impacted. So there are a whole host of problems with this. This isn't cost cutting and efficiency. This is just taking a sledgehammer to the American government.
Now, here's the kicker. It's not just that they aren't balancing it to keep it at $36 trillion. It's that they're adding more debt by adding to the deficits more than the current deficits. The current deficit projection would add $23.9 trillion of debt. But the Republicans want to add $28.5 trillion of debt, $4.6 trillion more of debt spending than the current deficit spending. I just ask for some math. You want a deficit spend to have tax breaks for the wealthy because you think that'll help the economy? Fine. But every American should look at this chart because the Republican budget is making the deficit and the debt worse. It's not balancing the budget.